traffic apps are fantastic. Whether you're on a short trip or going on a longer drive, you should always use an app to find out where you're going, because it'll save you a lot of time, especially if there are road closures, accidents ahead, things you don't know of. And if you don't want to use a traffic app, tune into news or talk radio and get the frequent traffic reports there rather than listening to music all the time.
Yeah, and is that helpful? I used to work in radio, and we always used to question, okay, here we are giving traffic reports, but if you're stuck in it, you're going to be turning to Waze anyway. Is there something extra about listening to that radio that's actually helpful?
Not really. I mean, you get
makes you feel better. You know you're not alone.
But it feels like they're talking to you. You know from being in radio, it's kind of a one-to-one medium, and you feel like those people are talking to you and helping you personally.
Yeah, well, you know, and that leads to something, because I feel like there's only so much you could do about how many other folks are going to be on the road or whatever incidents might crop up. A lot of it has to do with the mental attitude, and you know, you've been talking about this for many, many years now. Do you feel like there's something that you can and or should be doing before you even start up that ignition, like a moment you should take so that you brace yourself?
Well, prepare for it, but also make sure you're mentally prepared to drive. You know, some people, if you're experiencing emotions, maybe you just broke up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, or you're excited from a promotion at work, or whatever the case, whether it's positive or negative emotions, that can affect the way you drive, and that can override your focus on driving. So make sure you're in the right mental state to hit the road at that point and focus on the task at hand.
Yeah. Reed, I want to introduce a real-life scenario. A couple weeks ago, I was heading to the Strawberry Festival out in Oxnard. I checked Waze in advance to make sure. And then, of course, and I feel like there should be a word for this, maybe there is, there's that kind of scope creep that happens with Waze when you're sitting in your car and things start to back up and your ETA gets pushed back further and further, but you can't go back in time. And I found myself, because I had set aside that time and Waze told me I would get there, and then just stuff happens, and I physiologically could feel how much I was just freaking out. What can you do in a situation like that, where you're already on the road, you've all best intentions, but then stuff comes up?
Jump out of the car and run as quick as you can.
Clearly you don't know how fast or slowly I can run.
Maybe that isn't the best idea, but there's not much you can do at that point. That's why I say allow extra time, because things can happen along the way. And even if Waze tells you it's going to take 27 minutes to get somewhere, and then you see that little boop, the little flash that says 6 minutes added for, you know, an accident ahead or whatever. It does tend to freak you out a little bit.
Yeah. What about, I'm curious about your opinions about dash cams. We had ones installed in our cars after someone actually hit me on the 405, pulled over, saw that I was this little tiny lady with their baby, and was like, I'm out of here, I'm not worried about you. And my husband said, that's it, dash cams for everyone, rear cams for everyone. And I feel like that's actually really, it's a nice guarantee. What are your thoughts?
Well, nothing's a guarantee, but it's good to have one, and make sure you get one that has both front and rear view. Some people have the one that looks out the front windshield, and that's it. Make sure you get front and rear, because there are so many. I've been rear-ended 3 or 4 times over 7 years by people that just weren't paying attention. They were on their phones, they were playing with their dogs, whatever, but they've rear-ended me, so I'm getting one for my car too.
Nice. Has really come in handy in insurance claims, I'll tell you that. It's amazing when people think, I didn't even hit you, and actually I've got the video to prove it. Let's talk for a moment about road rage, which I feel like is a very common symptom of all the traffic on our freeways. Your tips for dealing with your own, dealing with the road rage of others, what should we keep in mind?
Well, first of all, road rage is a big problem here. You know, if you were doing a show like this in Boise, Idaho, we probably wouldn't even be talking about it. But there are so many cars and so much traffic that the frustration on the road leads to anger, that leads to aggressive driving, that leads to road rage. So again, allowing plenty of time helps. If you see somebody who appears to be experiencing road rage, avoid them and avoid eye contact, because sometimes when somebody is in a bad mood on the road, the first person they're going to mess with is the first person who does what? Makes eye contact with them. So just avoid people like that. Change your self-talk a little bit. Many people have very negative self-talk in life in general, and they carry that over into their driving on the road. So if you're a more positive person, have a little more positive self-talk as you drive, you'll be a little more easygoing on the road, and it'll make your day go a little better, and you'll be a little more relaxed.
Like the outlook. Reed, you mentioned if we were in Boise, Idaho, we wouldn't be having much of this conversation, and we should note you give talks on traffic all over the country. When you go to places outside of Southern California, what do you tell them about what traffic is like here? Because we're kind of notorious for it, but is there something that people just don't understand about Southern California traffic?
You don't understand it until you've lived it, you know. And so I go places and talk about traffic. And one story comes to mind. I was actually in the 10th floor office of somebody in Arizona who manages a traffic program. And he looked out his window in the afternoon and said, "Oh, now I have to go get in all that traffic." And I looked down and I said, "Where?" I mean, it didn't look like traffic to me. It looked pretty smooth, but so they don't know what real traffic is, you know. But you know, we're in one of the worst situations in the country. So many cars, so many people, and not enough roads to put them on.